Hey guys, it's an arborist Nossie here. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you a BLAKES hitch climbing system. We're going to go out into the field. I'm going to climb a cambium, which is a smooth bark Australian tree, going up DRT or MRS, however you want to say it. BLAKES hitching, it's a pretty terrible method to go up a tree. Most people immediately move on to a Prusik climbing system or a mechanical climbing system, whichever really you prefer. Prusik system's good to start learning your nuts with some sort of friction hitch. Now what I'll do is I'll set up the system, show you the BLAKES hitch knot, maybe show you a few other things, and then we'll go up DRT, hopefully not too far, because climbing with the BLAKES hitch is terrible, and I'll show you why. Alright guys, so I'm out here. I'm at basically my local soccer field. This is the cambium behind me, and what we'll do is I'll throw bag it, I'll put in a cambium saver. Now the cambium saver will not only protect the tree, but it will protect my rope as well, and seeing as we're going to be doing DRT or MRS, there will be a lot of movement throughout the tree, and we don't really want that rubbing and damaging the tree. Alright, so basically what I've done is I've chucked my throw line up into the tree. I've gotten through a union. What I've got is my large end of my cambium saver, so my large ring, through the far end of my throw line. And what I'm going to do is the short ring, I'm just going to take off my bag. I'm going to put the short side, or the working end, through the small hole, and I'm going to tie it back on. And you know, there's multiple ways to do a lot of this stuff, so it's really just preferred choice. So I got my throw bag here, I make a loop, and then I go around the other side, I put the loop in, and then I just let it drop. And then I like to leave about an equal amount of tail end through and loop, and that's not coming off. So you can also, when you've got the loop around, you can twist the bag around so there's more of these loops, making it stronger for basically, so the ball doesn't come off easily when it's going through the tree, because sometimes it can go through rough parts of the tree. But we're not doing anything crazy today, so I'm just going to leave it with the run loop. Now what I'll do is I'll pull this up, and the short end will then wrap around the union of the tree, and then we'll still be able to put our rope through directly through the cambium saver without having to go into the tree. So hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit of that here now. Now, what I forgot to mention is when you get to the union of the tree, you're going to want to give it a bit of a flick, so your throw bag and the cambium saver flicks around the union and doesn't get stuck. Alright, so I'm going to give it a bit of a jolt to make sure it gets around this union. Let me see if I can just adjust this camera so you guys can see that happening. Alright, so there you go, I flicked it around that union that I've wanted. I haven't gone too high because, again, we are BLAKES hitching, and I don't really want to go that far up BLAKES hitching because it's a pain. Alright, so I've got the throw line here. Now what we'll do is we'll attach the rope. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm now going to put my working end of my rope, attach it to my throw line, put that up the tree so we can start our DRT or our MRS. I've got the rope runner on it at the moment, so I'm just going to take that off. Alright, so I've taken the rope runner off I've got my tail end of, or my working end of my rope that we're going to be climbing with, and I've got now taken off the throw bag. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tie using about this much of the rope. I'm going to start off with a clove hitch or 2 half hitches, and then we'll do a couple of half hitches up the rope, and then finish it off with another clove hitch or 2 half hitches to make sure that the rope goes through straight and it's strong enough to get through any branches. However, again, because I've gone through a low union, it won't be going through that much debris, and we should have no problem with it today. All right, so I've got both ends. Basically what I'm going to do is make a loop like this, and then twist it, and then put the working line around, and then I want to make another loop again, and then just twist it, put that through, and then I want to move this to where I feel like I've got enough tail end for it to become pretty secure. Alright, because we also want the rope to travel up straight. Alright, and we're just going to tighten this off. Alright, and then you see it there, got a little bit of tail end, which is fine. And then what I'll do is I'll just make several more loops. Okay, so another loop, put it through, and you want to kind of go up in about inch intervals, maybe 2 inches, maybe I've given it 2 inches, that's fine. Alright, so we've got our 2 half hitches, our clove hitch, and then just up the top here we'll do another clove hitch, okay, or your 2 half hitches. Alright, and you want that pretty much at the top of the rope, so that also goes up as straight as possible as well, guys. Alright, okay, so you just want to tend to all your hitches and all your knots, make sure that everything's done correctly, okay, so we don't have an issue, we don't have the rope falling down on us halfway up the tree, or getting caught or just falling apart. In the arboriculture industry, you want to double check everything, and you want to tend to everything, and you want to make sure that anything that's holding your life is at 100%. all right, so I've got the rope here, we're going to pull it through now, and yeah, we'll start climbing. Okay, and again, so once the tip of the rope gets to the top of the cambium saver, you just want to give it a bit of a pull so it just forces its way through both of those rings. Alright, so, and there we go. We are through both of those loops, and we are coming down. Alright. Alright, and with these, you can pretty much just slide them all off and you're done. Alright, so we've got our working end here. I've got a carabiner. What we're going to do is basically I'm going to tie a scaffolding knot to this carabiner, and then with the working end I will tie the BLAKES hitch to the other side of the rope, basically. You don't have to use the scaffolding knot, you can use a fisherman's. They are similar but different in the way they are tied. Now, I'm just trying to figure out how much working end we're going to need. Is that not always the question? Because we don't want to be left with heaps, and I don't want none at all, but I guess more is always better than less. Okay, alright, we'll give it a little bit more. Now, the annoying thing about tying this system is you now need this much, hopefully, working end. Now, to tie these knots, you now have to pull all this working end through all of these knots, and if you're trying to be efficient on a job site where you've been hired or you've been contracted out by a big company, you want to be as efficient as possible. You don't want to be
pulling all of this through, tying knots. You'd maybe leave the system already on, but you've got to take this whole system apart to put the rope back in the bag to get it out of the tree and go home or go on to their next job. So that's why a lot of people are first probably go to your Prusik systems and then go to your mechanical systems. And overall the mechanical systems are better because that's what they're designed for, but they are more expensive and they also wear out just like your Prusiks and everything else. All right, now I've got the carabiner. I've taken working end through. What I'll do is, so this is the working end here. I'll put my finger on this end, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it around 3 times. So you can see what I mean, why you gotta play around with all this rope. So what we've got now is 3 loops around my finger. We're gonna go around, so let me take my finger out so you can probably see better. We're gonna go out and around, and then basically up through all of these 3 rings. And then basically you want to clamp down on both ends. So we've got this end that will cinch to the carabiner, and then this end that will hopefully tighten these loops. Now, you know, again, you want to tend to all your knots, because this is what's holding your life basically in a tree. So we're going to tend to these, make sure this is tight. And again, we will check now, and then we'll check again when we put our harness on. All right, so that's tied, and that's what it should look like. All right, so that's your scaffolding knot. Maybe I'll make a quick video on how to do the fisherman's knot. Similar, but different, and it works basically the same. It's just preference. I like this because it's got more loops and it feels more secure to me, but other people will go with the fisherman's knot. So the BLAKES hitch, this is our opposite end, this is our working end. Now what I'll do is, we want to leave as little rope between the 2 ropes as possible, because when you're in the tree your system can seem far away if you leave too much of this rope, and you've got to get to this rope to then pull yourself up in the tree. So now what I'll do is I'll show you the BLAKES hitch. We'll leave roughly that much. Hopefully I don't have too much working end, but we'll see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm put my finger around the end again. I'm gonna do 1 loop. I'm gonna do 2 loops around my finger, and then I'm going to do 2 loops just on the rope and not attached to my finger. So you can see 2 there, 1 there, and we'll do another one. All right, now you want to make sure these loops are tight around, because this is what the friction hitch will basically stop you moving, and then when you give it a little bit of slack, it will allow you to progress up the tree. All right, so we've got 2 loops. I'm gonna take my finger out now. We're gonna wrap. So where we've done the top knot, we're gonna wrap basically around the little bit that's coming between the 2 ropes. I'm going to go up through the 2 loops that I had my finger through, and then we're going to pull this all together and we're going to tighten it up. All right. And that's what you should essentially be left with. Now I got to tend to this knot because it's a bit loose, so let's tend to that knot, get these loops tight so we're not slipping, because as soon as you put your body weight in it, you should know, because it won't grab and you'll basically fall, which is not what we want. Alright. So pull this end to tighten the top loops, pull this end to tighten the bottom loops. Alright, now let's see if this grabs. Alright, so it's grabbing now, but when we put our weight in it, we'll see. So I'll just put my harness on and we'll go from there. Alright, so I've got all my gear on, I've got my harness on, I've got my helmet on, got all the protection on. We'll test this knot again. What I've done is I've tied a granny knot to the end of this just to reduce the working end a little and just to save it slipping through. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to attach this to my harness and hopefully we'll get climbing after we check to make sure that this can hold my weight. Now the union is pretty thick that we've got it on, so it should be able to hold all of my weight plenty. Now how the BLAKES hitch works is you can slide it up, alright, and then it should prevent my weight from falling down. So I'm just gonna slide it up basically. Now you can do other things like put a pulley here to help maneuver this up. You can also put more loops in the BLAKES hitch itself. I don't really want to bother doing that because I'm not going to be going too high today, and I just wouldn't climb on this system. The only time I would climb on this system is in a dire situation where my mechanical system stopped working, or you know, my prussic gave out and I had to somehow get out of the tree. This should be, you know, it's need to know knowledge if you're an arborist to get out of a sticky situation, or to do this basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it up, hopefully it'll hold my weight, and it doesn't. Alright, so that's why we need to then tend to it again. And there we go. The BLAKES hitch is holding. I'm a little bit off the ground. Alright, but this is what I mean by you don't want to leave too much of this working end, because you got to go above to grab it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hip thrust. I'm going to look super cool doing it because we all know how cool hip thrusting looks. And I'm going to move up slowly, just pushing up that BLAKES hitch. Alright, we'll probably go maybe 4 meters up the tree. There it is holding. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show you how to tie the fisherman's knot. So we've got our working end, got the carabiner on there. You don't need the carabiner on there to tie the knot, but I'm just going to do it because it was already on there. Alright, so what we're going to do is I've made a loop. Alright, I'm going to twist around the rope once, and then I'm going to twist around the rope going over the looped part, and then I'm going to pull the tail out and through. Alright, now I'd probably recommend a little bit more tail end going through that knot. Obviously it will tighten up once we tend to it, so see, we'll grab the climbing end, just boom, cinch it off, and then what we'll do is we'll just tighten the knot by pulling on the other end, and there you go, that's the fisherman's knot. All right, basically similar to the scaffolding knot, good climbing knot. And there you go, there is the climbing end of your carabiner, and then you can attach that on and go. While I've got you here, I'm also going to show you how to get and retrieve your cambium saver that is in the tree. So we will basically untie this knot. What I'll do is I'll just tie a granny's knot. Simple, nothing too big. We don't want anything bigger than that. So what this will do is when I pull the opposite end, it's going to go up and through the big end and basically clip and not go through the small ring of your cambium saver, and it's just going to fall down with me. So let's just do that. And there's your saver. Perfectly safe, smart, efficient way to get your saver up into the tree and retrieve it, and also look after your rope and the tree, and that's why we're here, to look after the trees. Now that's the end for me. If you're looking to get some tree work done in Adelaide or in South Australia, please check me out at www.plantcoterie.com and have a look at what we offer. See you later.